This is lesson 23 of beginning fencing. What we're going to talk about today are the scoring and strip rules and the size of the strip, those kind of things. If you're on top hat, what you'll have after this is some more drilling and then a little video that reinforces what we're talking about some of the strip rules. So, Brett, how many points are there in a fencing match? Well, it depends where in the tournament you are. Tournaments go for multiple rounds. The first round, what we do is we put everyone into what we call a pool. And in local tournaments, pools tend to be of 5 or 6 people. At big national tournaments are more likely to be 6 or 7 people. They like 7. And you will fence everybody in your pool. And those matches will go to 5 points. Once all of these different pools are done, they collect all the data, they establish who did the best, all the way down to who did the worst. Depending on the tournament, sometimes they'll cut the bottom people out. Local tournaments, we want everybody to get experience, so we generally keep everybody in. And then we go into the second round, which is direct elimination. Now, in a 5-touch bout, one blown call by a referee, one really lucky touch at the right time can make the difference in the whole match. Because you're only going to 5 points. Since everybody's probably going to still be in, it's not a big deal. You're still in. Still got a shot. The second round, and from then on, are elimination matches. So, standard playoff type format, you win, you're in, you lose, you're out. So what's going to happen there is we want to go to more than 5 touches. Reason being, we don't want one lucky touch or one bad call by a referee to cause someone to be kicked out of the tournament when maybe they shouldn't. So normally what will happen is that the fencers will now go to 15 touches. That means that one unfortunate occurrence is less likely to sway the match. There's a couple of exceptions to that. Very young fencers, if we're in a tournament where everybody is 10 and under, we figure they're not as strong, the swords are heavier to them. 15-touch match is going to push them a lot, especially if they have to do a bunch of them in their tournament. So, if we're in a tournament where everybody is 10 or younger, they only have to go to 10 touches. On the other side of the age group, if you're in what's called a veterans tournament, which means that everybody is 40 or over. And sometimes they combine, it's 40 and over, and sometimes they'll combine by decade, 40 to 49, 50 to 59, 60 to 69, and right now it's 70 and over, and in some cases they're doing 70 to 79 and 80 and over. Well, they don't want old guys like me having heart attacks on the strip. So they don't make us go to 15 points either. We just go to 10 points on the DE matches. So the question then becomes, how long do you have to score these touches? A regular 5-touch first round match generally goes to 3 minutes. Usually in foil and that way, someone gets to 5 points before the 3 minutes is up. In saber, it's so aggressive, there are going to be so many points scored, they don't even start the clock. They know no saber match is going 3 minutes. But what do they do if nobody gets to 3 minutes in a foil match? Or excuse me, nobody gets to 5 points in the 3 minutes of a foil match? Well then, whoever is ahead wins. Which brings up the obvious question of what do we do if Fencing has a sort of funny, semi-sudden death overtime situation. We call it priority. What will happen is before they start the priority time, which will be 1 minute of fencing, they will either flip a coin, or if you have a very modern machine, it will randomize the lights, and whichever fencer their light turns on and is on at the very end, that person has the priority. They'll fence for 1 minute possibly. If during that 1 minute, the fencer who had the priority gets the first touch, they win the match. If during that 1 minute, the fencer who doesn't have priority gets the first point, they win the match. However, if they go for the entire minute and nobody gets a point, then the person who won the coin flip or the light randomization, that person had the priority, and at the end of 1 minute, they win the match. So what happens, it begins to dictate strategy. If you have the priority and you no longer actually have to score, if you can just prevent yourself from being scored upon. So if the other guy's been trying for like 50 seconds and hasn't hit you, you're probably not going to do something risky to try to hit them. You're just going to try to make sure you don't get hit for those last 10 seconds. And conversely, if you don't have the priority, and you've maybe been playing it slow and cautious, trying to find a really good shot, and you get down to about 10 seconds left, you know you have now got to just get going and take in your shots, because in 10 seconds you're going to lose if you don't score. So that takes care of the 5-touch match. When you move into the DE round, you get a longer period of time, obviously, to try to score 15 touches. And what you do there is you fence for 3 minutes, just like it was a 5-point match. If it's a total slaughter and someone gets the 15 points in that first 3 minutes, they win. If nobody's to 15 points in the 3 minutes, then you get a 1 minute break. One person is allowed to come out to you and give you some advice, maybe bring you some water or Gatorade, something like that. You've got a minute to rest, collect your thoughts, get some advice, and get ready for the next 3-minute round. Okay? Go in the second 3-minute round. Someone gets to 15 points, it's over. No one gets to 15 points, you get another 1 minute break. Third 3-minute round. Same situation. Somebody gets to 15 points, match is over. However, with this one, if nobody gets to 15 points, whoever is ahead wins. If it's tied at the end of that third 3 minutes, then we do a priority. Again, a couple of exceptions to that, and they follow the exceptions that we talked about with the number of points. So for youngsters 10 and under, and for veterans where everybody in that tournament is 40 or over, then they only do 2 3-minute rounds. So it really works on each 5 points of the score that you've got to get to. So if you're only going to 5 points, you get 1 3-minute round, 10 points, 2 3-minute rounds, 15 points, 3 3-minute rounds. Okay. So now, this is a fencing strip. How long is the fencing strip? Go ahead and take a guess or two. But remember that fencing comes from Europe, and so this is all done in meters. The fencing strip is 14 meters long. That's a pretty standard dimension. The width of a fencing strip is not quite as standard. Can and legitimately be anywhere from 1.5 to 2 meters. Fencers tend to prefer 2-meter strips simply because it gives them more room to move. Fencing clubs tend to prefer narrower strips because they can put more strips into the club and more people can fence at one time. Or, if you look at the Cape Fear Fencing Association's strips here, you can see we have support columns and walls. And so our strips are about 1.6 meters. Not as wide as they can be, but not the narrowest they can be either. If we made the strips the widest they can be, people would be banging into the mirrors on this side or banging into the support columns on that side. How high is a fencing strip? The fencing strip is infinitely high. So practically you're indoors here. That ceiling prevents us from going any higher. But if we were outside, the fencing strip goes infinitely high. That may not make a lot of sense at the moment, but it will. You can see that we have lines on these strips. As I always joke with people, fencers are terrible about coming up with really cool names for things. So, these are the lines that we have. In the center of the strip, we have a line that we call the center line. 2 meters on each side of this center line is the line where fencers will go to start the match. And this is where they will come on guard. So they're about 4 meters apart from the start. This is called the on guard line. 3 meters back of that on guard line is another line, and you can see what we do is we paint the final 2 meters of the strip a different color. And that's so when you get back here, your peripheral vision starts picking up the darker blue, and you go, oh, I'm getting close to the end of the strip. So this area warns you that you're getting close to the end. So this is called the warning line or the warning area. And then finally, 2 meters from the end, warning line is the end line. Now, we have rules about staying in the boundaries. So, if my opponent is pushing me really, really hard, and they push, and I step off this end line with both feet, they get a point. It's just as good as if they had hit me. So, am I on the strip? Hopefully you say yes. Am I on the strip? Yes, right? 1 foot is still on the strip. Am I on the strip? Yes. Just barely. Right? A little bit of my toe is there, but that's all that I need. I'm still on the strip. Am I on the strip? No. What happens? Well, am I on the strip? And the answer is yes. Why? The fencing strip is infinitely high. So even though I'm not in contact with the strip, I am on the strip. Sometimes you will see somebody's getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and they go, oh, I'm about ready to run off the strip. I better start attacking and try to drive my opponent back so I can get back on the strip. Here I go, and as soon as they pull the foot back, the referee goes, halt, you are off the strip. Now, am I on the strip? My arms over the strip? But I'm not on the strip. Why? The rule is very specific. It's feet. Sideline rules. Sort of the same idea, except you never get points against for going off the strip, as for going off the strip. Except for one penalty we'll discuss later. We're fencing, someone's pushing me down. Let's say I start an attack. And I do my attack, but in the middle of that attack, I happen to step off the strip with one foot. Does my attack count? Depends a little bit on the referee, but I would probably get credit for that attack. I was in the middle of it, and I finished it. On the other hand, if it's something more like, oh look, I stepped off, I took a second, and I went again, no. My attack stopped, and then I started a new attack. The referee should be calling halt whenever I step off with one foot or both feet. And sometimes they'll let you continue the attack if you were going, but let's say I go off, I'm off with both feet. I can't run back onto the strip and start up again. I've got an opponent. Let's say I do an attack, I step off the strip, and I finish my attack. Oh, they're a good fencer, they parried, they were posted, and they hit me. Do they get their point? Absolutely. They didn't do anything wrong. You have to defend yourself at all times. So, I was making an attack, the person I'm attacking can't sit there and go, well, how's the referee going to call this? They better defend themselves and try to hit me back. And if they can do that, they still get credit for it. I started an attack, they parried that attack, they get the credit for their repos. And it could even be that I was totally off the strip by that point. I started an attack, I go off, they've parried, I'm over here now, they parry, riposte, and hit me, they still get their point. I can't score because I would be starting something after I'd gotten off the strip, they can still score. The one that gets really confusing is, oh, I make an attack and I totally miss. My opponent maybe makes a counterattack, maybe does a parry riposte, maybe does nothing, they totally miss. Referee calls halt, nobody scored anything, so we don't have anything to determine what's going to happen. What happens? The referee then looks at where did I start my attack from. Let's say it was here. I have to retreat 1 meter. Meter is about the length of the sword. Okay, so I retreat about a meter, probably start in the center. I would extend my arm. My opponent gets to extend their arm, so long as our swords aren't touching or crossed. This is where we would start from. They should be about 4 meters away from me when we start. Obviously then, we're not going to go off the side of the strip. If my opponent's been pushing me back here, back here, back here, oh look, I'm very close to the end of the strip, maybe a foot away from the end, I decide, I gotta go for it, I throw a flesh to try to hit them, I flesh, I miss, they miss. What happens? I now have to retreat a meter. Retreating that meter throws me off the end of the strip. My opponent gets a point. So, advantageous if you're the fencer that's being aggressive and you can push this person back. They can't keep retreating at this point. You can now take a shot at them and know the one option they don't have is doing a lot of retreating. You limited their options if you finish their attack. You've also limited their options if they decide to try to come after you as you're pushing forward. Because they can't go do something that would cause them to go off the side of the strip. So it gives you an advantage if you can trap your opponent down in the back of the strip. However, one thing you want to make sure is that you do finish that attack. You see a lot of people, they'll push somebody here and they'll stop right where they are because they don't know how to finish it at this point. And while they're trying to figure out what to do, the other person will make an attack. So if you get somebody back here and you don't know what to do, feel free to just take 3-4 steps back, give them a little more room, and then try to work it back down again. And that's the lesson.